What is popping? Yo, I feel like it's been a minute since I've done a new style type of video. I miss, sitting at my desk, checking my papers on the counter, letting you know about what is happening in our Vera community tonight at 12 more, right? But yeah, man, I miss you guys. So we just had the February live development update. We learned a lot of news about what's happening as we head into phase 3. Of course, things are kind of a bit bumpy right now during Alpha 2. People are facing burnout. People are still waiting for the rogue. X, Y, Z. So let's talk about it. To start this off, this past weekend, the servers were super buggy to the point that we weren't even able to get on. Literally, servers opened up Thursday, but we weren't really able to get on until like Friday. So because of this mishap, what Intrepid is doing for us, they are now leaving the servers open up until March 10th. We've seen something like this before during Christmas break, right? Remember during the launch of phase 2, we had servers up for, what was it, like 2.5 weeks? And that was the launch of phase 2. Even with things being super buggy and messes, they were like, hey, Merry Christmas, I got you, we're gonna feed the streets. And I've said this before, I think this just adds on to the character that Intrepid Studios continues to show. It's like, if they feel as if we were done dirty, they try to right their wrongs, if that makes sense. We also know that this month is gonna be a huge month. The tropics are getting expanded, we're finally getting the rogue, and then we are getting node sieges. Now, look, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yo, it's lit, we're finally getting the rogue. I remember during the December showcase, was it? They had said that we were gonna get the rogue or see the rogue like halfway through January. And I'm not upset at it. It's just a testament to things continuously changing, but that's just what it is with Alpha. But I will say, if we do see the rogue, then it'll be lit. Adding content to what is supposed to be essentially the greatest MMO of all time is never going to be a bad thing, regardless of what is said about us not treating it like a real game. That is just the fact of the matter. People are looking at it like that, which is why people are burnt out like it's a real game. And to be fair, I think a lot of people have been looking for something new to do, right? And Rogue really is that. We also know that during the April development showcase, which is next month, we're going to get more information on what we're going to get at the launch of phase 3. Now, let me just say this now. If we are not getting the rogue until late March, early April, I genuinely don't think we are getting the summoner until at least the end of summer. Don't shoot the messenger. Now, of course, going into a phase, knowing what content we're going to get is going to be huge. And of course, I think that's how it should be done. Regardless of the player base that's been burnt out and taking time off, there is a dedicated group of players that are still logging in every week to play, like the exploiters.
You need to leave.
Guys, it was right there. I had to take the joke. Come on. Unfortunately, I do think once we get that information of what is playable for phase 3 at the start, once people get on in there, test that, if there isn't more consistent content, the same thing that happened during phase 1 and phase 2 will happen, which is the inevitable drop off. But on the flip side of that, us getting more content means that there are going to be more things to do. And as we continue to get closer and closer to release, whenever that is, we are going to start feeling like the game is becoming a complete game. Now, speaking of a complete game, I think that we're just in a unique position with phase 2. During phase 1, it was weekend testing. So it was like, hey, I gotta make time, I gotta play this, I gotta test it out. And although I wasn't a fan of the weekend testing, I will say that definitely felt like a test environment. The game has been up much longer during phase 2, and Although I love that, I think what's happened with the player base, and again, we can all say to not treat it like it's a full release, but that's exactly what people are doing. And I think that came to bite a lot of people in the butt because they got burnt out. And I think that's a natural thing to happen, especially when there isn't a ton of content to do right now. What are people running around doing? Caravans, maybe node wars if you're organized enough and know when it's happening. And then on top of that, node wars are a long activity, which I'm not complaining about, but not everyone has the time for that. So when you're playing a game as if it's fully released and an alpha where there isn't much content, you're eventually gonna run into a wall. I know a lot of people are feeling super high and then super low when it comes to Ashes, and some people are discontent. They aren't a fan of where things are. I just want to say, let's remember that it's alpha. I'm not saying to not hold Intrepid accountable for things that they do or may have done wrong, but again, let's remember that it's alpha. If anyone is thinking that things are gonna release on time, look, I'm just gonna say it. I never thought that. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I never thought that. I never thought for a second anything was releasing on time. And that is not to say that I don't believe in Intrepid. But after every live stream, when it starts, what do we get? Hello, my glorious community. Welcome back. Remember, this is a test and things are subject to change. Look, if the dude who was telling me things could change, I'm gonna take your word. Things could change. And yeah, it kinda sucks. But that's why we don't play it like it's a real game. I think what's happening too is that the people that are playing Ashes of Creation, which is us, we have been following the project for so long. And I think people aren't even necessarily burnt out because they're finally playing the alpha and there's nothing to do in the alpha. I think it's more of a burnout from waiting, to be completely honest with you. Now, obviously, I do think there is a burnout from playing the game for sure, but I do think a lot of people are just kind of tired of waiting. And I don't think it's wrong to feel that way. I mean, I've felt that way while we were waiting for Alpha 2, right? Because we've never gone through a process like this. And I think Intrepid's trying to figure that out as well because this is their first major game. So as this process continues along, what I think we're gonna see is we are gonna continue to grow along with Intrepid. It's almost like we're learning together. And it's 1000% okay if you're not enjoying everything the Alpha 2 has to offer right now. That's completely fine because it's not a complete game. I'd say play a few other things and just check in with Ashes whenever you can. Because regardless of if this game releases next year versus if it releases 10 years from now, I do think that there will still be an audience for the game. Now, if it does release in, say, 10 years or some crazy amount of time, I do think that will alter the project, probably in a more negative way just because it took so long, but I still think that niche group will still be there to play this game. We're kind of in a twilight area right now. You get what I'm saying? And to be completely honest with you, I think the same exact thing is gonna happen during Phase 3. I think that's just the way things go. What are your thoughts on where Ashes of Creation currently is? What are you excited for Phase 3? Or are you even excited for Phase 3? Let your boy know in the comment section below. If you're still playing and you're looking for a guild, my guild memorandum is still recruiting. So come apply, rock out with us. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.